A suspect facing capital murder charges after a teen was shot over the weekend. Hear from the prosecutor on the rise of cases he's seen involving younger defendants.
As you head out the door this morning, noticeably cooler outside, but still very comfortable today. 60s and 70s, lots of sunshine. That's coming up.
And El Salvador's leader speaks about the man mistakenly deported to his country from the U.S. On the latest from the White House.
First, a live look outside in Springdale for you. Good morning. The sunrise is beautiful. 5 News This Morning's now.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News This Morning.
Well, hey, thanks so much for starting your day with us here on 5 News This Morning, live on Channel 5 and streaming all morning on 5 Plus. I think we're off to a great start with a sunrise like that. Why not, right?
I feel like we've been seeing some good sunrises lately. I think it's because there's been some good weather.
I think so. Let's keep that up.
It's been good weather so far, a little bit cooler today, but still very comfortable outside. Good weather really the rest of the week. Unfortunately, when the not so great weather comes in is for your Easter weekend. We'll cover those details coming up here in just a second. Comfortable for today. Daytime highs into the 60s and 70s. Lots of sunshine for today, but more of those windy days coming back into the forecast by the time we get to tomorrow and then carrying into our Thursday and Friday as well. It's been windy so far this spring. Unfortunately, those windy days making a comeback by the time we get to the end of the work week. That leads us, though, into Easter weekend where Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we have some significant rain chances coming back into the forecast, and more than likely some strong thunderstorms would accompany that as well. We'll talk about those details coming up here shortly. Current temperatures out there right now, heading out the door for your Tuesday morning. Good morning to you there in Bentonville, 46 degrees, 49 in Fayetteville, 51 there in Van Buren, 54 in Fort Smith, 51 there in Charleston. Good morning to you, 56 there, 46 there in Springdale so far this morning. Really not too bad heading out the door. Again, noticeably cooler over the past 24 hours. We dropped about 15 to 20 degrees, but by this afternoon, sunshine breaks out. You probably won't even notice it outside Northwest Arkansas. The rest of the day today looks like this. Sunshine all day long. Daytime highs reaching up into those mid-60s. Across the River Valley, we'll reach up into those low 70s by the time we get late this afternoon. Let's get a check of traffic as you head out the door this morning. Here's a live look out across I-49 there in Rogers. Good morning to you so far this morning. No accidents out there. Traffic moving smoothly out there. That morning commute should be just fine.
Thank you for that, Stephen. A man arrested for sexually abusing a child at a Greenwood daycare has pleaded guilty. Jamie Speaks agreed to a plea deal on Monday, including an 18-year prison sentence. The charges were filed after a victim reported to police that Speaks abused her at Miss Tina's daycare when she was 2 years old. The same daycare also facing a civil lawsuit alleging they allowed a registered sex offender around kids. Speaks previously pleaded guilty to child sex crimes in 2012. Also developing, an Oklahoma man is facing capital murder charges after a 16-year-old was found dead in Siloam Springs over the weekend.
Dalton Hunt had his bond set in a hearing on Monday. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer was in the Benton County courtroom and tells us what happened.
Monday, a judge set 18-year-old Dalton Hunt's bond at $500,000. The Benton County Sheriff's Office says deputies were called to a home on Lacey Street in Siloam Springs. Police say 16-year-old Giovanni Miranda was shot to death at the scene. According to court documents, when deputies went to Hunt's home to question him, he stepped out with his hands up.
This is not a whodunit. This is a what are the surrounding circumstances on whodunit. That's one of the reasons why the bond recommendation was what it was. Also, because the investigation is continuing, because there are some circumstances in this particular case that will want a little better fleshed out.
Before turning himself in, Hunt told authorities that he was afraid Miranda was going to shoot him, so he shot first. Documents show Hunt also told deputies he never saw Miranda pull out a gun. Benton County Prosecuting Attorney Brian Sexton says his office argued for that $500,000 bond because of a few factors, including the suspect having ties to Houston, Texas.
The fact that there was no known criminal history for this particular defendant and his local ties, but at the same time weighed against the fact that this is a serious crime. The state does have concerns regarding the potential for fleeing.
Sexton says since he's taken over as prosecutor, his office is seeing more younger defendants like Hunt.
There are other cases that we are prosecuting to this day that involve younger and younger juveniles and involve gunplay. It is a really bothersome pattern.
In Benton County, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Well, continuing coverage on a deadly shooting at a packed park in Conway. This happened over the weekend. The city's mayor and police chief say they plan to provide some new updates today. Well, we know right now 2 people are dead, 9 injured after a gunfire broke out, all during a large gathering or a party at Fifth Avenue Park on Sunday evening. Police said they had no suspects then, and they have not updated the public since, though some park neighbors say they remain in shock.
And to know that that party was not meant to be that. I think it was a lot of college kids having a good time, and it started out as a really good time. And to see that it turned into what it did is just really sad.
Well, on Monday, officials with both UCA and UAPB issued statements distancing their schools from organizers of the event.
Well, the final day of the general session for Arkansas lawmakers is tomorrow. Members of a joint House and Senate committee are pushing Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' budget bill forward. It puts the $6.5 billion spending outline on a path to approval as early as today. Meanwhile, dozens of bills passed in both chambers on Monday, and a few dozen more received the governor's signature, including a new law called the Teacher and Student Protection Act. It aims to protect those who are faced with constant violent or abusive behavior in the classroom. Lawmakers go back to work early this morning. Well, this video taken during a 5.2 magnitude earthquake that shook Southern California. Officials are reporting no injuries or major damage. Monday morning's earthquake was centered in San Diego County and was felt as far north as Orange County. Officials say Governor Gavin Newsom has been briefed on the earthquake, and the state has been working to assess any damage.
Well, today, parties are due back in federal court in the case of a Maryland man the Trump administration says was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Supreme Court ordered his return, but the Trump administration is refusing to bring him back. At the White House Monday, the president of El Salvador said that they will remain in prison, that Abrego Garcia will remain in prison. The White House says that Garcia has affiliations with the MS-13 gang, which his family denies. In 2019, a judge ruled that he could stay in the U.S. for fear of going back to El Salvador could put his life in danger. On Monday, President Trump also suggested he wants to deport some violent U.S. citizens.
If it's a homegrown criminal, I have no problem. Now, we're studying the laws right now.
Well, as for his ongoing trade war, the president says he's now weighing exemptions to his 25% auto tariffs. This after the president allowed exemptions for some electronics before later backtracking, saying those Chinese-made products were now just part of a different, quote, tariff bucket.
Well, this morning, we're learning more about an alleged arson attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Governor Josh Shapiro and his family were asleep inside when police say 38-year-old Cody Balmer scaled the fence, tossing homemade cocktails inside the home. New court documents say if the governor had confronted him, the suspect planned to beat him with a hammer. Balmer was captured later in the day and faces attempted murder, terrorism, and other charges. Well, a mega antitrust trial is underway that could decide the fate of the social media company Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. The FTC is accusing billionaire Mark Zuckerberg's company of shutting out the competition and unfairly profiting from it. Meta bought Instagram and WhatsApp more than a decade ago when they were startups. Now the FTC says that Meta has a monopoly and needs to spin the apps off. Zuckerberg took the stand on Monday. He testified at the time of purchase that he was worried other social media apps would take users away from Facebook.
Well, today marks the 113th anniversary of the day the Titanic sank in the North Atlantic, taking with it over 1,500 lives. The liner struck an iceberg, you'll remember. The ship sank in the early hours of April 15th. For more than 70 years now, the wreck of the Titanic lay undisturbed on the ocean floor. But then in 1985, advances in deep-sea technology led to its discovery by a Franco-American expedition.